March 27, 1995. A crisp spring morning in Milan. Maurizio Gucci, the heir to one of the world's most iconic fashion dynasties, steps out of his car and begins the short walk to his office at Via Palestro 20. He is 46 years old, wealthy, and finally free from a turbulent marriage. He nods to the building's doorman, Giuseppe Onorotto, unaware that a dark green Renault is idling just feet away. As Maurizio reaches the red-carpeted steps, a man in a beige coat steps forward. 3 shots ring out, striking Maurizio in the back. As he collapses, a 4th and final bullet is delivered to his temple. The golden boy of Italian fashion is dead, and the world is about to discover that the killer wasn't a business rival or a mobster, but the woman who once promised to love him forever. Before we dive deeper into this web of high fashion, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder, remember to comment, like, share and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Calendar of Crime. Your support helps us bring these dark moments in history to light every single week. Now, let's return to the steps of Via Palestro and the woman they called the Black Widow. The story of Maurizio and Patrizia Reggiani began not with a gunshot, but with a whirlwind romance that scandalized the Gucci family. When they met at a party in 1970, Maurizio was the shy, awkward heir to a fortune, and Patrizia was the vibrant, ambitious daughter of a waitress and a wealthy entrepreneur. Maurizio's father, Rodolfo, saw through her immediately, calling her a social climber who had nothing in mind but money. But Maurizio was smitten. He ignored his father's threats of disinheritance and married Patrizia in 1972. For a decade, they were the it couple of New York and Milan, living in a massive penthouse in the Olympic Tower and rubbing shoulders with Jackie Kennedy Onassis. Patrizia wasn't just Maurizio's wife, she was his chief advisor, pushing him to take control of the family business. But the fairy tale began to rot from the inside. In 1983, Rodolfo died, leaving Maurizio with a 50% stake in Gucci and a mountain of family legal battles. As Maurizio struggled to modernize the brand, the pressure mounted. Patrizia's constant interference and advice became a source of intense friction. Then, in 1985, the breaking point arrived. Maurizio told Patrizia he was going on a short business trip to Florence. He never came back. Instead, he sent a friend to tell her the marriage was over. Patrizia was blindsided and humiliated. For the next decade, her love curdled into a toxic, all-consuming obsession. She wasn't just losing a husband, she was losing the only thing that defined her, the Gucci name. The divorce was finalized in 1994, but for Patrizia, the settlement was an insult. Maurizio agreed to pay her $1.1 million a year, a sum she famously dismissed as a bowl of lentils. Her resentment reached a boiling point when she learned Maurizio was planning to marry his new partner, the former model Paola Franchi. A new marriage would mean her alimony would be slashed in half, and more importantly, another woman would take her place as Mrs. Gucci. Patrizia began openly asking anyone who would listen, her lawyer, her housekeeper, even grocery store clerks, "Is there anyone who has the courage to kill my husband?" Most thought she was just a woman scorned, venting her rage. They were wrong. Enter Giuseppina Pina Auriemma, a high society psychic and Patrizia's closest confidant. Pina was the bridge between Patrizia's murderous fantasies and the grim reality of the Milanese underworld. Through a series of desperate contacts, Pina found Ivano Savioni, a hotel night porter with connections to the city's debt-ridden fringe. Savioni, in turn, recruited Orazio Sicala, a man struggling with gambling debts, to be the getaway driver. Finally, they found their executioner, Benedetto Ceraulo, a pizzeria owner whose business was failing. For the price of roughly $375,000, a hit was coordinated. The plan was set for the morning of March 27. The investigation into Maurizio's death initially focused on his business dealings. He had sold his remaining shares in Gucci to the investment firm Investcorp in 1993 for $170 million, and police suspected a financial motive. For nearly 2 years, the trail went cold. Patrizia, meanwhile, moved into Maurizio's luxury apartment the day after his funeral, evicting his grieving girlfriend, Paola Franchi. She seemed untouchable, even writing the word paradisos, the Greek word for paradise, in her Cartier diary on the day of the murder. But the conspiracy was fragile. The hitman and his accomplices began bickering over the payment, and a tip-off eventually led police to the night porter, Savioni. On January 31, 1997, the Black Widow was finally arrested. The trial was a media circus that captivated Italy. Patrizia arrived at court every day in full Gucci regalia, maintaining her innocence and claiming Pina Auriemma had organized the hit to blackmail her. But the evidence was overwhelming. The diary entries, the wiretapped phone calls, and the confessions of the hit squad painted a picture of a woman so consumed by spite that she was willing to pay for her husband's life. In 1998, Patrizia was sentenced to 29 years in prison. Even behind bars, she refused to acknowledge her status as a common criminal, referring to her time in San Vittore prison as her stay at Victor's residence. Patrizia Reggiani was released in 2016 after serving 18 years. When asked by a reporter why she didn't just shoot Maurizio herself, she replied with chilling nonchalance, "My eyesight is not very good. I didn't want to miss." Today, she still walks the streets of Milan, often seen with a pet parrot on her shoulder, still insisting on being called Mrs. Gucci. The fashion house has moved on, becoming a global powerhouse under new leadership, but the bloodstains on the steps of Via Palestro remain a haunting reminder of the price of power, the weight of a name, and the deadly consequences of a love turned to hate. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe for future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.